Oh, hello. Are you back again? Well, look what I've got. These are Skyreat ND filters for the Mavic Mini. Should we do a review? Okay, let's go. Hi guys, welcome once again. Today we're going to be doing a review for the Skyreat ND filters for the DJI Mavic Mini. Now, like my other video that I did about the PGY Tech ND filters, these are essentially the same kind of thing. They work the same, just that the way you put them on the drone is slightly different. I'll get into more of an in-depth review in a second, but let's take a look at what you got in the box. So we have this 6-pack of ND filters for the Mavic Mini. They come in a box like this, which is a very nice plastic box. It's quite solid. It opens, it's got a magnetic connection there, so essentially it snaps shut quite well, as you can see. And inside you do have 6 ND filters. Now you've got ND8, 16, 32, 64, and that's a UV, and that's a CPL, which is a circular polarized lens. Now, I don't bother with the UV one because, to be honest, I just don't see the difference. I don't see the purpose of it yet. Maybe I'm not as clued up as to why you use these, but for now I don't use it because I don't see what the purpose of it is. And the CPL, again, I don't see the point of this one because it's a clear one. I've not seen the difference in footage as opposed to all the others where you can clearly see the difference. There's no difference, there's no enhancements that I can tell or notice. So these two, I'm kind of not really going to do a review. There is a bit of B-roll footage at the end of this video that I'm going to concentrate on for you guys to see once again how these work. Like I say, I film in 2.7K at 30 frames per second on the Mavic Mini, and I keep the settings the same for the video. So my ISO is usually between 100 to 200, and my shutter speed is double that of the frame rate. So I film at 30 frames per second, my shutter speed is 60. Now what these filters do, as I explained in my other PGY Tech one, when you go out with your camera and you're filming out and about on automatic settings without ND filters, the footage can go from light to dark, and the haze and the light that's coming into the camera can just be all over the show. So your footage is up and down, it's not maintaining its clarity and the right level of exposure. Now that's what these things do. They maintain a constant level of exposure, and depending on what time of day it is, what type of day it is, sorry, if there's a lot of light or if it's overcast, then it's up to you to decide which ND filter that you want to put on to maintain the right balance, the right level of exposure, so it's not too light and it's not too dark. And by playing around with these on the day, you can see on your app at the bottom, when you've changed from automatic to manual, changed your ISO and your shutter speed, and you put one of these on. So if you put an ND8 on, you'll see at the bottom it says 0.0, and that's the perfect level of exposure on the manual settings. Now if it's minus or plus, then it's either too dark or it's too light. So it's up to you to find that balance and try and maintain that 0.0 level, and that's the perfect level of exposure depending on which ND filter that you've put on. Now I'm not going to go into an overly descriptive visual with it because it'll take far too long, and I'm just essentially reviewing what these do. It's up to you guys if you decide to buy these for your drone, whether or not it's worth it. Is it beneficial to your footage? And as I say, if you're just filming everyday stuff and you're not really bothered about that sort of smooth cinematic look where you get the correct level of motion blur, you get the correct level of exposure, you can always do without them. But if you want to make that next level bit of video footage where you maintain the correct level of exposure, then these are very much worth buying, because I've noticed a massive difference between filming without one and filming with them. There's such a huge difference in the quality and the clarity of your video footage. Now these, I'll just pull one out for the sake of showing, and as you can see, I'll show you, they each have, I don't know how well that's going to focus. So as you can see on the top, it says Skyreat ND8. On the side, you can see these little hooks, these little pins. And they attach to the heating vent on the back of the camera on the gimbal, and I'll show you how these attach in a second. So yeah, that's what that looks like. They're really tiny, but they're really well made. Just try and let that focus in so you can see. You can see those two little pins. So yeah, that's what the box looks like. That's the pack of ND filters. That's what you get. They cost about, I think, 60 quid on Amazon. Now I've seen other lenses out there that are trying to pass off as semi-decent, half-decent ones, but they're just poorly built. I've had first-hand information from people who use other types, like Sunny Life, I think it's called. There's others, I can't even remember the brand name of them, but they just don't do the job. They're poorly built, they fit wrong, they cause gimbal overload, all manner of things that you're kind of going to get yourself into if you buy them. The truly tested ones, the ones that do work, are these and a couple of other brands that, like Freewell and PGY Tech, they also work. But today I'm going to be doing this review on these Skyreat. So that's the case. Those are the filters. I'm going to show you now how these attach onto the Mavic Mini drone, and let's go. So here we have the Mavic Mini. This is mine, nicely decorated, as you can see. There's another video on that that shows how I've wrapped this and the reasons why. There's your camera, and I don't know if you can see on the back there, you can see like a little vent at the top, and that's your heat vent. Now, how you attach these, like I say, you've got those two hooks, and this can be a little bit tricky, but the only way I'd advise putting these on is always make sure that the drone is turned off. Don't have it switched on, because once it's switched on, there's power going to the gimbal, and then it becomes locked in, it's calibrated, and if you start messing with that gimbal when it's powered on, you're going to offset the gimbal's calibration, and then it's just gonna go into a bit of a overload, and it might start shaking, it might start doing erratic things. So always make sure that your drone is powered off every time you're going to put one of these filters on and take them off. That's just my bit of advice, because if you cause too much stress on the motors, essentially the bread and butter of this drone is the camera. Now, the drone's useless without the camera, to be honest. So don't put any stress on the motors when it's powered on. Don't even touch that gimbal when it's powered on, because you're just going to wreck the gimbal and the motors. Now, turn it off, get yourself an ND filter, and you see the vents at the back. That's where you want to attach. The only way I'd advise to do it is, because this can move, you want to do as little movement on it as possible. So I generally hold it in place just very lightly, you don't need to go heavy handed, and then pull this down, pick up your ND filter, and then pull it down. It has a tendency to just swing back up a little bit, but you can line these little pins into the two outer vent holes, and essentially you just line them up, slot them in, and then squeeze it down, and that's it. Make sure it's situated on properly, and there you go. It's as easy as that. And to take them off is essentially the reverse. So there you can see how they attach. And the reverse, the best way I find is just get your nail. Again, be very delicate when you're messing about with this. Don't put too much stress on it. So hold the gimbal just lightly, get the back of the ND filter, and then just lift it off like so. That's all you need to do. So once again, I'll show you again. Just line them up and then squeeze it down. Very simple, it's very easy to do. And the bonus of this is, I'll show you now. Center the gimbal back up, and then you can put your camera cover over. You can put it on with the ND filter and it fits perfectly. So if you do use like a regular ND8 or ND16, whichever one that you're going to use, you can keep it on constantly if you want to, which is kind of what I do, just for the immediate access. If I'm out filming and I want to get something quick, I don't want to have to sit there, take the time to get the drone out, set it up, put the ND filter on, because that takes, you know, a couple of minutes to do, and those couple of minutes could be crucial to capturing whatever it is that you see that might be so immediate that you need to get your drone out right there and then and start filming. Cutting down the time of putting this on is worth it, and it's good that you can keep the ND filter on with the camera case cover. So that's how it works. That's how they situate onto the camera. Do keep a microfiber cloth handy, because as you can see, you do get smudges on the lenses, and that then translates to the picture quality. So just give that a little wipe before you start filming. There's nothing you can do about the fingerprints, to be honest. What I'd suggest is, when you've put them on, just check for fingerprints, making sure that your drone's powered off, and just give it a little wipe. Just clean the lens, and clean the lens on your camera as well. So for this doesn't cause gimbal overload. Let me see if there's a battery in there. No, there isn't. It doesn't cause gimbal overload. I'm not going to demonstrate that, but trust me, when you power it on, it does its little calibration and everything's fine. Doesn't cause gimbal overload. I've not had a single problem, and I've been using these for about 6 months now, probably longer. I've not once had a gimbal overload. Well, I tell a lie, I handed the drone to somebody, and how I know that your gimbal offsets and the calibration goes into sort of a bit of overload. Some guy came along to me one day and he said, "Oh, is that a drone?" And I said, "Yes." So he says, "Can I have a look?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And I handed the drone over to him, and it was still powered on. Even though I wasn't recording, stupid me, it was still powered on. And because he doesn't know about these drones and stuff like that, I handed it to him expecting him to grab it like this, but he didn't. He grabbed it there onto the camera, and he kind of pressed into the camera. Now, because it was powered on and he's pressed in, he's caused a bit of stress on the gimbal. When I got it back and I started recording, the gimbal was like shaking, you know, up and down. It was just like so I turned off the drone, turned it back on, recalibrated and recentered all the gimbal and everything, and it was fine. But that's what I'm saying, if you cause too much stress to the gimbal, it's just gonna go a bit mental, and potentially you're not gonna get the recalibration. You might break the motors, so always be careful with your gimbal when you're putting these on and off. Turn your drone off, and that's the best advice I can give you. Now, that's as much as I can say about these. Really good little ND filters. I'm going to roll some A-roll and B-roll footage, a little compilation to show you how these work. There's some where it's got no filter on, there's others where it's got filters on, and hopefully you can see the difference in each of the box windows to see. Now, let me just turn this camera back around. So that's my review for the ND filters. They're worth buying. Like I say, if you want to make that professional, cinematic looking quality footage to your Mavic Mini drone, obviously shooting in high resolution is the purpose of doing that. It kind of defeats the purpose if you're going to film in a low resolution, and without using ND filters. If you just use your drone for everyday stuff, making a silly little video or stuff like that, then forking out 60 quid might not be worth it. But if you want to make that cinematic quality with motion blur and good contrast between lights and shadows, the colours brighten up more depending on which filter you put on. That's my experience of them. I think they're worth it. I think 60 quid's worth it because the quality of your drone footage massively improves, especially if you film at 2.7K, 30 frames a second, and then you put an ND filter on. It massively improves the contrast, the colours, everything like that. And because I'm editing now all my drone videos in 4K, I'm upscaling all my videos to 4K, and you really tell the difference between not having a filter and having a filter at the correct ISO and shutter speed, running to double the frame rate, etc, etc. So these are from Skyreat. You can get them on Amazon for about 60 quid. I think they're worth it. They're a worthwhile investment, and you'll definitely see the dramatic difference in your footage. So that's my review to today. I hope it's helped. I hope it's been informative. As usual, I've got a brew that's gone cold, semi-cold. I'm still going to drink it though. Yeah, I hope this has helped. Buy them or not, it's up to you. You be the judge of that. This is just my review, conveying to you guys what I think of these ND filters and how I use them, how you put them on, etc, etc. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.